responsible when they request, a signed HIPAA request for records, to send those out within a certain amount of time, depends on the state. So they have to do it. Now, there's two things, like Jolie was talking about. When it comes to a therapist, there are situations where a therapist will write a letter and that's generally accepted. They'll write a summary of their care. Situation where a doctor's office will talk to their client and say, hey, look, if I send your records, this is in here. Do you want me to do that? And if the person says no, then the doctor's office can get away with not sending them because the client told them not to after the authorization was signed. The client withdrew that authorization to the doctor. The other part of that is what Jolie was talking about, where doctors can withhold just because they want to. The only time that would come back to bite them if they thought they were doing the client a favor and saving their, privacy, if something happens and that person dies and that claim is disputed, there are legal financial ramifications on part of that doctor. And the other thing is a doctor's office, like Jolie was talking about, if they refer a client for another test and they don't have to include that. Even though it's in their file, they don't have to include it. A lot of times they will, and that's what we love, but sometimes they won't, and then they're obligated to do that. So if they pull it out of the file and you have to go to the pathology report, you have to get that from a lab at a hospital, that's part of the course.
Right. And I didn't realize this until later on. Apparently, when you open a medical file, because I never look at my doctor's medical records, apparently labs and testing are on one side of the file and the office notes and everything are on the other side of the file. So when a copy service goes in and copies somebody's records for the last 5 years, they're humans. They're not going to get everything. They might miss something. There might be a test all the way in the back of the file, and they thought those were records that were older than 5 years older. So you will have requests, and you will see from the underwriter at the carrier saying, go back to Dr. Such and Such and get me the missing lab results from this such and such office visit. Or go back to the doctor and get me all of the lab work that was done within the last 5 years. And you just go back to whoever gave you the medical records, if it was Express Imaging, and you just send them a notice and say, please go back to Dr. Such and Such and get them missing. And 9 out of 10 times, it's there, it was just missed out of the file. You wouldn't reorder the medical records. You don't need to reorder it because your request was already in there for all records for the last 5 years. It's just that it got missed. It is going to happen. I guarantee you that will happen to you. If not once or twice a month, easily more than that. Because it's a person, it's a human being that's doing that. So we're all we all make mistakes, and it is possible. It's going to happen. So you want to make sure that you don't reorder that request because you don't want to get the same thing that you already have. You want it to be known that yes, I got the medical record, and it even says that there was a referral or a colonoscopy or whatever the situation is, and that was missed in the records that was sent to us. So, and then usually they will send them to you right away. It just depends on the facility. But on those situations, you don't want to reorder the records. You just want to go back to the facility that got the records for you and get the missing records. Okay, does that help? You don't want to reinvent the wheel. You don't want to have to start all over from scratch. You're kind of jumping into the middle of it. You're just getting missing records. Okay?
Just to send a fax stating that we require the missing records only.
Yes. You only request the missing records. And usually I'll either send an email to Express Imaging if they're the ones that completed the records, or, I'll go on their website and I'll send a request saying, please go back to this doctor and obtain the missing whatever the lab results, whatever the situation is. In fact, I actually had one the other day.